Over here, there's an interesting Siforno. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, "Re'eh anochi osel lefneichem hayom brochu klolo." I'm giving you the blessing and the curse. So Siforno says, "Habitu re'eh shlo yeh inyon chal ofen beinoni shu amirig barov." Most situations, when a person has opportunity, it's usually not the ultimate, and it's not something which is the most extreme in the negative. It's either the ultimate here, or it's, if you don't achieve the ultimate, it's, God forbid, it's me'ero, it's the curse. I'm presenting to you A and B. And he goes to explain what broch is, what blessing is, what curse is. Ki omnom, nosi lefnechem hayom brochu klolo, ve'im shnei haktzovos. I'm presenting to you both extremes. Opposite ends of the spectrum, the ultimate and the most negative. Interesting. What is blessing? Blessing is something more than is what's which is needed, which is satisfactory. Al tzad yosta, which is the ultimate. And the curse is that something which diminishes the person, which the person can't even achieve what he needs. Ushneim lefnechem lahasik. And both of them, you're in a situation there, you could either achieve the ultimate, or God forbid, be in a position that you should be a victim of your own failing. What is it all about? Now, why does a person exist? A person lives so many years. Why is a person given so many years to live his life? Because you need that many years to achieve what you're meant to achieve. The Ramchal, it's based on Yerushalmi, the human being comes into this life, that this is the proving grounds. And everything in existence, all challenges, and all levels of opportunity in the spiritual sense have relevance to the development of your neshama, of your soul. Once that's been accomplished, there's no reason to remain here any longer on this earth. So every year, every day, every moment you have in life, that additional moment is given to you for that specific purpose. Because the level of achievement is what? The perfection of your soul. Now, what is the value of the perfection of your soul? The value of the perfection of your soul is, because that will determine what level of relationship you could have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The more you perfect it, the greater is your relevance to Hashem. Who has the greatest relevance to God? Moshe Rabbeinu and the Avos HaKadoshim. Moshe Rabbeinu being the greatest Jew who ever lived. Nachnu Mo. He was the conduit to bring Torah to this world. His level of achievement was the greatest. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the founding patriarchs of Klal Yisrael. Whatever we have is only due to what they invested in themselves, which we are the beneficiaries of. In the material, a person achieves beyond anything a person needs. But that extra material really has no innate value. Its value is on what you do with it. If it's put in the proper location and context, it achieves, but it has to touch on the spiritual. Now we say, Ezeu Osher Samech V'Chelko, we just said in last week's Pirkei Avos. Who is the wealthy person? The one who Samech B'Chelko. You're satisfied with your portion. So the commentators explain that each person has his portion. And you have to, if you understand that you have your portion to address, each person has his unique objective. And whatever is given to you, it's to address that portion, then a person has no problem. You're satisfied with your lot. You don't want to be distracted. We read in Pirkei Avos, Mar b'nechosa mar b'daiga, that the more you have, the more possessions you have, the more war you have. It's a distraction. Unless it's a necessity, it's a distraction. So therefore, focus is the key in terms of achievement. So God says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, in the name of Hashem, I present for you life between blessing and curse. What you have is opportunity, which you will achieve the ultimate, which is blessing. What is that? Because if you develop yourself within the spiritual realm as you should, you will achieve the ultimate. And that's what it says in Pirkei Avos, Schar b'hayal meleko, that one cannot be rewarded for a mitzvah in this world. This world is a finite location. And the mitzvah is eternal. Therefore, reward cannot be given in this world for a mitzvah for that reason. So that's brocha. What's klola? Klola means that if you don't achieve that, but when do you realize that you did not achieve that? Only when it's too late. And the Mesilas Yesharim, as we read, a person says, I'm satisfied being a middle-of-the-road Jew. You're satisfied. That's only because you don't appreciate the value of what that achievement is. But if you'd really appreciate what it is, he gives an example. He says the wise merchants, every day, they're always evaluating, auditing the previous day's accomplishments. This is what he speaks about cheshbon nefesh. Person has to take a personal accounting. My previous day, did I succeed, did I fail? Even when I succeeded, did I succeed sufficiently? And you're continuously weighing, making these evaluations to be able to, that the next day should be no less profitable, even more profitable. Identically, in terms of our behavior as Jews, we have to continuously do the introspection and make these personal evaluations. And these are the wise merchants. A person who's not wise, he says, I think I'm doing okay. I think the day was profitable. There's no thinking the day's profitable. You want to know exactly what the day was, how could we do better? Always. Because they appreciate the not knowing what that could bring about. So a person has to know exactly where he stands to be able to achieve the ultimate. That's brocha. But you only appreciate that if you have an understanding of the essence of what you're dealing with. So failing where you could have succeeded, and by the time you realize that you can't make the difference any longer, that's klola. Chazal tell us, in the world to come, kol echod nichve michuposo shel haveiro, that each person is actually singed from the domicile of his fellow. When you see your fellow and you realize you could have achieved what he achieved, actually you're singed by it, meaning you're bothered by it, and it's something you can't recoup it any longer. Because then you realize what you could have been, but it's too late, you can't be that any longer. It's interesting, Rechaim Volozhin writes, in the Ruach Chaim, that's his commentary on Pirkei Avos, it says, Al shloshet dvorim ha'olam omed, al Torah avoda al gemilas chasodim. The world stands on three principles: the study of Torah, the service of Hashem Avodah, and acts of loving kindness. So he says, a person who has wealth, has material, we understand, he's able to really address Gemilas Chasodim in a very special way. But so Torah, every person has relevance to Torah. That's your choice. Avoda, to what degree you serve God. Gemilas Chasodim, if a person doesn't have two nickels to rub together, how's he supposed to do Gemilas Chesed? Although the Gemara says that when it comes to loving kindness, it's bein begufo, bein b'mamono, it's what we do with ourselves or we do with our possessions. But a person has very little possessions or no possessions, how's he able to achieve Gemilas Chasodim? That's what Rechaim Volozhin asks. And seemingly, as you could excel in Torah, every Jew could excel in Torah, you could excel in Avodah, in service of Hashem, you could excel in acts of loving kindness. How could you excel? No less. You barely have any material. You can't make ends meet. How do you excel? So he cites the famous Chazal it says that every day a baskol goes out from Sinai, from Chorev, which announces to the world, Kolol Kul Niz Mishul Chanina B'ni. The whole world is sustained in the merit of Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Chanina, my son. Shedailo b'kav charuvim erev Shabbos and erev Shabbos. That it was sufficient for him, literally, he had a paltry portion of carob. That's what he subsisted on, from erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos. Could you imagine? He himself barely had sufficient to exist, but in his merit, the whole world is sustained. He says, in the history of existence, have you had a greater Gomel Chesed than Rab Chanina ben Dosa? So it doesn't mean say you have to put your hand in your pocket and you actually give the poor man. Your achievement in the spiritual realm could activate all that brocha, which brings about the greatest chesed to the world. So therefore, you could, as you do Torah at the most advanced level, you avoted most advanced level, if you achieve that level, you're able to Gemil's chesed at that advanced level. So that's brocha in the ultimate. And you're addressing all three principles which activate and cause the world to be balanced and function as it's supposed to function.